G'day and welcome to Strictly Sega this week. Now shoot 'em ups have never really been our forte, and we usually like to leave it to the likes of Classic Game Room, as they do an excellent job reviewing those kind of games, as they're big fans and can talk about it for many episodes.
So we decided it was time to do a shoot 'em up for ourselves. We talked about it for a little while, and Radiant Silvergun came up many times, and most likely would have been our first choice if only it wasn't $200.
Here, Nick, put this on each stove and lay it on the carpet.
Sorry.
Here at Strictly Sega, we're strongly against using emulation, especially Sega Saturn games, so we've had to resort to the next best thing. Enter Donpachi.
Now the name Donpachi is actually a bit of a pun to some extent. You see, Donpachi means leader bee in Japanese, but Don is also how we would say bang in English.
Donpachi originally came out in 1995 at the arcade in Japan. Sadly, it got a very limited release over in the USA, and over time has become one of the most sought after arcade machines around. Soon after its arcade release, the game became available on the Saturn and the PlayStation.
Donpachi is one of the first in a long line of what we now call Manic shooters. It was released by Atlas and developed by Cave, who also made a game for the Saturn that we previously reviewed.
Well, in our opinion, a Manic shooter is a shoot 'em up game, where the screen action is hectic all the time with enemy fire coming from every direction. Manic shooters can leave you feeling a bit zoned out and even tired after a long session. Essentially, we would call it a shoot 'em up turned up to 11.
But there's usually a whole lot of power-ups, and the enemies are mostly of the popcorn varieties that explode in a hit or two, i.e. like popcorn, with larger enemies being more resilient, requiring more hits to disintegrate. Rather than shooting directly at you, enemies spray bullets across the screen, creating hypnotic and beautiful patterns that you must dodge at all costs.
Stand by for action.
A Japanese game company by the name of Toplan were one of the cream of the crop when it came to making arcade scrolling shooter-based games, which included Zero Wing, Tiger Heli, Twin Cobra, and a horror-based platform game by the name of Demon's World in 1980. Then, after Toplan imploded from a financial meltdown, a group of ex-employees banded together to form Cave, who is still around today producing games for arcades, online games, and your everyday mobile phone.
Story.
Just like Deep Fear, our copy of this game is from Japan, so a lot of the text isn't understandable, but overall the game is extremely playable. The player assumes the role of a pilot who is sent by their squadron to fight their former allies until one side destroys the other, all of which is part of a mission to strengthen the military power that controls each side. The player flies their selected fighter over various terrains, encountering a number of land, sea and air enemies. The player's ship has two modes of fire. By tapping the fire button, shots are fired, but by holding it down produces a concentrated vertical beam. Keep in mind it also reduces the fighter's speed.
Fighters and weapons. At the game's start, the player chooses one of three aircraft which all possess differing weapons. A red fighter, a green helicopter, and a blue fighter.
Each aircraft has a main forward firing gun and two small floating guns, which it deploys at the start of the game. The placement of the guns is different on each craft, which affects their firing style. On the red fighter, the guns circle in front of the craft, combining their firepower with the fighter's main guns. On the green helicopter, the guns, which like the helicopter use blades to hover, keep positioned directly to the left and right, and can rotate to provide sweeping fire. On the blue fighter, the guns are near the rear and angled outwards, providing diagonal fire.
Your fighter has a limited number of bombs. They produce a large explosion which destroys all enemies on screen, and makes all enemy projectiles disappear for the entire duration of the explosion. If the player presses the bomb button while firing the concentrated beam, the ship unleashes a high-powered beam instead, which does more damage to a specific target.
Power-ups. There are three power-up items in the game identified by different letters. What they do is make the player's guns stronger and beams thicker. Two of these items must be collected for one level of power-up. When the first is collected, the player's shots turn darker in colour.
After finishing Area 5, Players will be put through the stages again, in what appears to be a hard mode. With no apparent drop in weapon power, the difficulty of this mode lies in the enemies, which now explode into bullets when destroyed. If the player gets through the final stage in this mode, they will then face the real boss in the game, which is a mecha robot bee.
Before we go through with that, could you get Zombie Nick to take him out? He's really starting to stink.
Of course. Zombie Nick.
Don't touch my new boy.
See you, Stu.
See you, Stu.
Bye, Stu.
Remember how cool shoot-em-up games were when we were kids at the arcade?
Oh, remember a Galaxian?
Absolutely. One of the best games. One of the best games from my childhood.
Oh,
definitely.
what about River Raid on the
River
2600?
Raid, definitely.
1942.
Oh, mate, that was one of the best
classic.
games of the 80s.
Oh, mate, you know, up until this, couldn't beat it.
Absolutely.
But on with the battle.
Final boss time. Man, he's crucifying this game.
Oh, man, he's on fire. This maniac's just caning.
It's like he was born for it.
Oh, he just doesn't stop, even in death.
Kill the bee.
He's gonna do it.
He's...
Donpachi.
Whoa! Oh, don't touch him, bro. I've got no idea, man.
I'm back.